Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against spitting with a little bit of soul, no times.
All right, welcome to the Please Remain Calm podcast. Welcome back. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I'm Daniel Gonzalez.
And we're here with our guest.
Melissa Galleano.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? So Melissa is, we're going to jump right into this episode because I feel it's a super important episode. It's a very interesting call that we're going to talk about on here. And we're going to talk about, Melissa is a dispatcher. She's a firefighter with the LAFD. All of the dispatchers with the LAFD at Metro Division, which is like our dispatch, are all firefighters as well and EMTs. And go through an extra level of training to be a dispatcher there. But that's what Melissa does. And Melissa was involved in a call that is pretty personal to me, to Ben. I grew up, we grew up on the west side in Venice, Mar Vista over there. And
it's kind of a rare thing, like you work in the district where like our grandma's house is.
It is, man.
Yeah.
Typically, guys and gals don't like to work in the area that they grew up in. Okay.
True, yeah.
And I've experienced some of the reason for that. Every once in a while, I've been at 63s now for 8 years on this stint. I was there for about a year, about 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Shoot. God, I'm getting old.
I know, right?
But I was also an explorer there when I was in high school for 2 years. So I have a lot of roots at 63s. And then we grew up in Venice, Mar Vista area and stuff like that. So that whole area, it's our home,
Right.
So typically guys, gals don't like to work in that area because you don't want to run into or run on people that or family members or friends or something like that. And I don't know, man, 63 is just home for me. So I didn't even really think about that until I actually started running on people that I know, and it does suck.
I forgot that that's happened to you. You ran on people that you
Yeah,
knew.
it's happened a couple times, man.
Oh, wow.
And it's whack. But,
Yeah.
or like I dread our parents live in 62s first in.
Yeah, I know that.
Mhm.
And all three of our grandparents are in my parents' house, taking care of them. My grandpa's on hospice. Our two grandmas have dementia. So that's another thing I'm dreading is if 62s is on a run and something happens and I got to show up, to treat or work on or work up one of my grandparents or something like that. So anyway, so there's roots in this area that I work, 63s, right?
Right.
Penmar Park is the park.
The Park of Venice.
It's the friggin' Park of Venice. It's where
It was the safer park. Let's say there was two parks. There was Oakwood Park, but Oakwood Park was like crack dealers.
Yeah, you
like
want to
the
buy
middle of the
crack?
hood,
Yeah, or
two
learn how to
gangs
be a
shooting at
G?
each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, we have signups for basketball. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I'll pass this season.
Yeah, so you got to pick, and if you lived in Oakwood, you hung out in Oakwood Park, but if you like played Little League at any of the Little Leagues around, or just lived in the neighborhood,
Soccer,
and
football.
everybody had practice there. It's the central park in that area. So when I heard about this incident that happened, and basically in its most basic form, a 14-year-old kid was playing baseball, organized baseball at Penmar Park. Middle of the day game, 14 years old, and got a hit, stole second, slid into second, didn't get up. Call came out as a seizure, and we're gonna get into that incident, how it went down. Melissa was the dispatcher on that call and basically walked the mom through doing CPR on her 14-year-old son.
Yeah.
So it's a interesting. I think this is going to be a great episode, man, because we're going to talk to Melissa about Metro, what it's like to be a dispatcher, how she got to that point, stuff like that. But then once we get into this call, we also have Trey Glennon, who's a paramedic, who's actually an engineer on my shift at 63s, who was on the call on Live 463 when it went down. So we'll hear the audio. We'll talk to Melissa about the incident and her side of it, how she does that, how she walks somebody through, and then we'll have Trey talk about the actual incident. So
really getting into the main concept and format of our show.
Yeah. So Melissa, first of all, how long have you been on the fire department?
I've been in the fire service for, I think 20 years now. I started out doing wildland stuff pretty young, and I've been with LA City for almost 17 years now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So I've done a little bit of everything from the wildland. I worked on a helicopter crew. We did rappelling.
Oh, yeah?
Was that for Cal Fire? Or?
That was for Angeles National
Angeles.
Forest.
All right.
Cool.
You were jumping in?
Rappelling, yeah.
Oh, wow, dude.
Yeah, it
So-
was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Growing up, was this always something that you knew you wanted to get into? or how did that come about? How did your brain even turn toward the fire service?
I decided pretty young. I was always just very active. I never could understand the idea of working at a desk, which is ironic because now I sit at a desk. But
Right.
initially, everything that I did was outside. I lifeguard, just outside, outdoors. I was
Right.
a tomboy. It was just something that I gravitated towards. And my dad mentioned it one time, and it was it. I was just like, okay, yep, that's what I'm doing.
You grew up in Southern California, or
Yes, in
Okay.
Southern California.
Was LA City a thought, always like a thought or the goal, or was it just the fire service? Any way I can get in?
Yeah, it just happened. I mean, I took the test when I was 18. Didn't get in right away because there was still a residency requirement, but I was in no position to move. So just kind of waited, and through the process, eventually they got rid of that. And it was never planned. Like, it wasn't like I'm going to work for LA City. It just,
Right.
it just happened.
Yeah, they hit you up. You took it.
Yeah. That's what you do.
It's
You just
usually how
take it.
it's usually how it goes.
Yeah, right.
What about the Forest Service? How did that happen? I know that's kind of like, for a lot of people, it's like a first step or a stepping stone to getting in, doing that seasonal work. Is that what it kind of was for you?
Yeah. Well, I was lifeguarding and then working ski patrol.
Oh,
So
okay.
Oh, wow.
a lot of the ski patrollers worked the ski patrol in the winter, and then wildland firefighting in the summer.
Oh,
It was
I didn't
like
know
a
that.
seasonal job.
Yeah, it
Okay.
makes
It's a
sense.
seasonal job gig. So all the guys I was working with were like, hey, come work with us. You want to be a firefighter? Like, it's a good stepping stone, like you said. So it just kind of worked out. I started working with those guys in the wildland. And
It's so funny how life does that, man. How life will give you like little. You'll like look back. You'll be settled down. Like sometimes I'll do that. I'll think back like, fuck, how the fuck did I get here, man? This is cool, And then I'll think back to little tiny things that if I zigged, there and I instead of zagging,
Oh,
I
yeah.
would
Are
have
you
wound up.
kidding?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how different could things have turned out if you weren't
Oh,
working
yeah.
and ski patrolling? You know what I mean? And talking
Yeah.
to those
Right.
guys about it, because that's one of those things that you only really get into wildland firefighting if you're hanging around guys that know about it. You know what I mean? It's not something you're like, oh, kids in high school like, oh, I'm gonna go be a wildland firefighter.
Right.
How many seasons did you do that?
I did 3 seasons in wildland.
Did you actually fight fire
Yeah.
stuff? Do you have any big campaigns or anything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of local fires. Since we were a rappel crew, we would get special ordered for lightning strikes up north.
Oh wow.
But like it was quite a few years ago, but all the fires in SoCal that burned up, like the Grand Prix, the old fire that burned up Arrowhead, and all
Sure,
the
yeah.
foothill communities.
All those. Okay.
Yeah.
Man.
All right. So you get on the fire department, you go through the drill tower, all that stuff, all the normal firefighter stuff. You go through probation, right? All normal stuff. At what point in your career does Metro look like it's a destination for you?
I don't know that it never looked like it was a great destination, but I really appreciate it now.
Yeah.
After I had my first child, I looked at it,
sure.
Okay.
And people had mentioned it throughout my career. I remember years ago I went down and hung out with one of the PSOs for a while just to kind of see what it was about, listen to some calls at OCD,
Yeah.
and just try to see what it was. I was new, didn't know what it was, so checked it out. Never really felt like it was going to be my thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
See, yes,
Until-
I was wondering about this because that's another thing is like most fire departments, they don't use firefighters as dispatchers.
Correct.
They'll hire dispatchers, train them to do calls, but there's an added plus with LA City, the experience that you have. But I was wondering, like how one winds up getting assigned to Metro. Like people put in for it, or was it more of a thing? Like I thought it was like guys who were injured and coming back from injury.
It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you have some people who are injured. You have some people who want the experience for promotion. I mean, the experience
okay.
there is incredible. You learn so much more about the department than you ever would. You learn every angle.
Organization.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
all that stuff,
Operations,
Yeah,
because you're in on every big call.
Communications.
Yeah.
We're running the structure fires as a call taker, as a firefighter. You're going and you're talking, you're hearing the size up over and over and over and all the requests that they make. So like when you go to try to be a captain or promote in any way, you've done that in your head so many times when you're sitting there talking to the IC and he's requesting everything. So it's just, everybody has their reasons, but there's people there that, do it for, they can flexibility. They can take days off, move days around, do a lot of stuff because there's just more firefighters there.
And what are the shifts?
It's the same. It's the ABC platoon.
platoon,
24
yeah.
hours.
So you're in 24 taking calls?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're
A
not
lot of
taking
people do
calls
more.
the whole time, right?
Yeah, how's that go?
There's floor time. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah,
Please.
so that we have it's called a watch schedule,
Mhm.
and there's 27 watches for the firefighters every day, and you just get plugged into one of those. If it's your shift, you just rotate numerically every shift. If it's an overtime day or a trade, you get whatever you get.
Right.
People have their preferences, so we call them flights. There's the odd and the even, and everybody just kind of pass each other by all day long. And when you're off the floor, it's a break time, but we have a lot of responsibilities too, and that's like your eating time, there's a lot of stuff that we have to do. Just like if you're at the station, we wash cars, we have to do kitchen cleanup. There's other stuff that we do too. So keep the gym clean.
How long is the time that you're actually on the floor during one of those shifts?
The most time is 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
Which is, it's a long stretch. That's hard.
Okay, so in a 5-hour stretch or shift or whatever, like how many calls will you take?
Oh, I don't know. A weekend, obviously, Fridays, weekends, holidays, crazy busy.
If it's raining, did they give you your numbers
busy.
Though, like at the end of the week or anything? There's not really like a thing like that. We're like,
No.
I mean,
I could say you could probably average like 100 a day for each person, because if you figure, it's because they don't always count all of the calls. Business calls don't always get counted. They count like the real emergency incidents and the transports and everything.
Okay.
But you feel sometimes like you're just getting beat down.
I mean, sometimes we'll call, if we need to go down for an oil change or something, or we need to go pick up equipment or something like that, usually call Metro instead of getting on the radio and asking, and just say, hey, is it cool if we go do this? So sometimes you'll call and it'll be like, all operators are busy now. Please hold. And it's like, this is the line. This is like 911. It's the line, you know what I mean, that you're calling it.
And you're plugging in.
So you're.
We're gonna go get food.
And I think that sometimes like fuck, man. What if a guy's like attacking, my dad with a knife right now, and I'm just like, what do you mean? Hold on, you know? But you got to realize that all the dispatchers are literally on a call, taking a 911 call at that point. If you're getting that message on there,
Yeah, and sometimes there's only 5 of us taking 911 calls for the whole city.
That's crazy.
And then people don't realize either that it always goes through a police agency first. So a lot of people end up sitting on hold first with LAPD or CHP before they ever get to us, and then they're like, "No, I'm waiting on hold again. Like, how many times am I going to do this?"
Yeah. So then in those situations, by the time you have somebody that's not only worked up because of the call, but now they're frustrated because they're being transferred around. So just another thing that you have to deal with as a dispatcher.
Yeah.
So during the shifts, there's some people that are on the phone taking calls and some people are on the radio?
Yes. So we have the 3 dispatchers because we have our 3 main channels. We have Channel 4, which does just the Metro Rescue area. Channel 7 does Metro Fire. And then Channel 8 does the Valley Fire and Metro. Metro,
Fire and medical.
Yeah, medical and the rescue ambulances and the fire engine.
All right. And when you guys throw out like a TAC channel on an incident, there's not a Metro person on the TAC channel then?
Not typically,
right?
We do have. It depends on the call type. If it's a
hiker,
if it's so, the dispatcher should be monitoring the TAC channel. Hiker incidents, it's cool because at OCD we couldn't all. There wasn't the capability to listen to the radios at every position. If you were a 911 call taker, that's all. You couldn't listen to radio.
Oh wow.
So now at Metro we have that ability. So if you're on the line with a hiker, sometimes they have bad reception. You try to call them back, it's not going to work. So a lot of times we'll talk directly to the units on the incident on the TAC channel from Metro because we still have the person on the phone, so we can give them any updates right on the TAC channel. It's pretty cool to have that ability there.
Yeah, totally.
Technology is great.
I know, right?
But normally it's just the TAC channel. Like if it's a structure fire or a river rescue or a major incident, then you have somebody on that channel.
We should explain what a TAC channel is.
Yeah, so on the radio, there's specific channels for the different areas, right? There's just like you said, the valley.
Yeah.
There's the harbor area and the central area, and so each area has their own. But then each division has their own TAC channels also, right? So if there's a major incident or a fire, you get a channel that's dedicated to that incident. So
the importance of it is
on the dispatch, you'll see it'll be like structure. It'll give you all the information about the structure, and then it'll say like TAC 13. So everybody, as you're on your way to the fire, people are looking up maps and stuff like that. But somewhere in that shit where you're getting your stuff on in the back of the rig, you're turning your radio. To TAC 13. Okay, and then all communication is on that. Now, all that being said, there is a channel 6, which is an emergency channel. Okay, it's there for if a firefighter gets trapped, lost, injured, incapacitated at the fire, it's basically an SOS for a firefighter.
Channel. Yeah.
A Mayday channel. There is a button on our walkie-talkies, on our radios that if you push it, it automatically sends the radio to channel 6 and sends out an alert to Metro and to the people on scene, and you announce a Mayday on that channel, right? There's other procedures to go through with that. Like it's always best to go through a Mayday on your TAC channel first. If something happens, you get trapped, a roof collapses on you, fall through the roof, you fall through a floor to a second floor or something like that, or you're injured, you can't get out. It's always best when you have a mayday to pull your radio out on the TAC. Mayday, 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 firefighter trapped. This is Firefighter Gonzalez. I fell through the roof. I'm in the southwest corner or whatever. That way the guys that are with you who are on the TAC channel will hear it, and usually it's the guys that are right there with you that save you. That being said, if you put it out on the TAC, no one hears, you go to, because there's other people talking on that TAC channel too, right? The roof team is, hey, we got good smoking up here, and hey, we need more ladders over here, and there's shit going on that TAC channel. Busy. Meanwhile, somewhere in there, you hear someone go, mayday, mayday, and then it cuts off, right? Yeah. So,
I thought it does a brr 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 thing. No, 50-50?
Only when you do the trigger.
When you hit the trigger. So the idea is that you put it out on the TAC. Your guys around you are like, Gonzalez, what the fuck? Where is he? Oh shit! He fell through the hole. Oh fuck! And get it out.
Right.
Before they send in a RIC team and all this other stuff, right? You hear me cursing? My mom's gonna hear me.
Right.
So if you put it out on the TAC, right, and that's kind of like what everybody has their different way of doing it. My way is I'm gonna put it out on the TAC, and then I'm gonna hit my emergency trigger and talk on 6. When that happens, you put it on the TAC, you hit the trigger, it automatically sends you to 6, and you put out your mayday on 6, okay? And then you're dedicated there until you get rescued on 6. What happens at Metro when we hit our emergency trigger?
Oh, everybody hears it, so you know that someone's going to hear you. If they didn't hear you on the TAC channel, however you decide to do it, it's so loud. Alarms go off at all the consoles.
Oh, really?
The floor captain is the one that has the capability to talk directly to the person that's activated their trigger. But usually
the floor captain is the captain that's in charge of the floor at Metro, correct?
Yes, yes. But usually if it is at an incident, which is typically where it would occur, the incident commander would usually be the one that would acknowledge that, because they are in control of all the resources. They may already have a RIC team set up, like you mentioned.
Right.
So they can directly affect the rescue, whereas we're in
across the city.
Yeah, we're in a building downtown where we can hear everything clearly. So we may be able to relay things if needed, but usually it's going to be the incident commander that would actually affect that rescue on 6.
It should also be the floor captains is getting the incident commander if they're not already on
exactly.
it. Yeah,
so if they're not acknowledged, which and in the chief sedan they have that channel cranked up, so they shouldn't miss it.
They have a dedicated speaker turned all the way up specifically.
But it's the backup, and then there are. I mean, it could. A lot of times we get them, they're usually false alarms, but it could happen where somebody just pushes their trigger and they're not on an incident. All of a sudden they're getting shot at, or who knows what, It's like, it could be used for anything where you're in a critical situation. But typically only on incidents.
And so, and that's another thing that you're taught as a rookie coming up and stuff like that too, is that your emergency trigger is for if you get trapped, all that stuff. But it is also for if you get in a situation where you're in trouble and you need help, right? Yeah, I'm going to call right now. Have you ever had that happen where somebody hits their trigger and they're not clearly saying that there's an issue, but you can hear a commotion or you can hear something going on? Have you ever heard of that happening?
I haven't heard it with the trigger. It's usually a help call, like over the radio,
Just
right?
click
We have our
it and help,
terminology where you need backup or you need help. It's usually a help call, and you can hear
screaming and yelling and stuff like that in the background. Yeah. So that's like another thing. Like if you're in, like, let's say you're in a house and you're treating mom and she's having chest pain and the son is a gangster and he's like, fucking treat her, give her medicine. You're like, calm down, man. And he grabs a knife or something like that.
Call,
You don't want to grab your radio and go, hey, fire department needs help, back up when you got a guy. So you might key your mic and go, hey man, it's cool, man. I'm just Rescue 63. Put the knife down, dude. Put the knife down. I'm here to help you, bro. You don't have to pull that knife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the dispatcher has to be able to recognize that there's something going on.
You're like a domestic violence victim ordering a pizza.
Kind of, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's the police.
Yeah,
exactly.
Do you know you're calling 911? Yes, I know. Give me a pepperoni.
Right.
But dispatcher has to recognize that too, and have enough sense of mind not to go, Rescue 63, you're calling for help, right?
Right.
Rescue 63, yeah. You're just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Anyways, let's
we're gonna have to get into
the call.
Couple last things, right?
Go ahead.
Is it then this all being said, more stressful of being on the phone or being on the radio?
That can go either way.
Yeah.
Sometimes the radio, especially Channel 4, the Metro Rescue area, is extremely busy. And usually we have people sitting around us as your dispatcher. If someone's not on a 911 call, they're your backup wing person. So if somebody says we need LAPD or we need DOT or we need DWP, whatever request they make, they say, I got it. Like they're the one doing everything. But when everyone's on a 911 call and you've got calls on hold, you have nobody to help you. So you're doing everything
Go
by
through
yourself.
calls,
And it gets
through call,
crazy.
through call.
But at the same time, like when he plays the call, there are calls that are extremely stressful and so hard to deal with. And you don't get a break. You hang up and it's like on to the next.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Are you guys also like air traffic controllers for the air units?
No, we don't have to
Do you have
deal
nothing
with
to
any
do
of the
with
aircraft.
Okay. And boats, same thing.
No, they have all their own channel. Like if they're on an incident, they have their own channels that they use, so we don't have to talk directly to them.
Maritime.
All right.
They're under maritime law.
Right. I was gonna say, right. There's no, you know, the port captain over here too.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
Yeah.
They don't have.
Bring it in.
They don't have a dispatcher with an eye patch.
Yeah. Right. That's what I'm saying. A parrot in
Yeah.
the metro.
That happens on the brush fires, not like our dispatch center. We just handle the the city projects.
Right.
Okay, so let's get into the call that we're here to talk about.
Yeah.
Do you remember how long ago it was? Did you remember the date? I didn't have a date on
I
it.
think it was March 17th. I'd have to look.
A couple of months ago
Yeah.
at Penmore Park, just like I talked about earlier, 14-year-old
Neighborhood
kid,
park. Yeah.
14-year-old kid playing baseball, collapses at second base, and it's actually the stepmom of the kid that makes the call, and who you were speaking to on the phone. So you want to? Trey's gonna call in like 5 minutes. Do you want to just play the call?
Yeah, we pretty much set it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just play it.
Well, let's go to the call.
We'll listen to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Get the Kleenex.
Yeah, it's not for me. It's there's a gentleman up front who asked me to call 911 for him.
That's
right
ending.
after
That's the
it.
other one. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's coming. Just let it play. Here we go.
Paramedic operator 150. What's the address?
Hello, fire department. What's the address? Hi, it's Venice, California. I got it, William.
Okay, and are you in a park? Are you at the park?
Yes, we are. It's the park.
Where in the park are you?
We are on the baseball field.
Okay. Is your phone number?
Yes, that's my phone number.
What's the emergency?
I believe he's having a seizure. My stepson is having a seizure.
Are you right next to him?
I don't know. We don't know.
Are you right next to him?
Yes, we are.
About how old is he?
He is 14.
Is he still seizing right now?
It looks like no, he's not. It looks like he's trying to breathe.
Okay, the paramedics are on the way there, but I'm going to give you instructions while they're driving there, okay?
Hey, can we stop here? So every call you're starting the exact same way,
Yes.
right? No matter what. Can you explain how that goes, or like why it's important to get that information out of the way first, no matter what?
Yeah, that's like the script we have. To get the address, the phone number, just in case we get disconnected, we have to be able to call them back.
Yeah.
And then obviously, if it's not at house, if it's someplace else, if it's in a shopping center or here, the park, you want to find out
Exactly.
where in
Yeah.
the park.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just at the park. Okay, well, that doesn't really help us if we don't know where you are in the park.
Mhm.
So it's just getting the specifics just to make it easier for the guys in the field to find the person.
To find them,
quickly.
and then you start getting what is the actual incident, like
Yes.
what do you have, what's happening?
Yeah.
All right.
Because at least if we have a starting point and then we get disconnected, we can just send somebody
Mhm.
to get somebody going.
Yeah. So you have somebody
yeah,
going, because
so-
at that point you had already sent. Right?
Yeah. Yes. As soon as I knew it was a seizure,
Boom.
I sent. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you know that you have a seizure. Now you know, okay, there's something that we can do. You don't know if the kid's like arresting totally or what it is, but you can start giving instructions, and that's where we're at.
Right. I also want to mention too that like from the paramedic standpoint or firefighter standpoint even, like this call came out as a seizure, right? A seizure, to layperson on the street, see somebody have a seizure, it's a freaky thing to see. To us, paramedic seizure, okay, seizure. It's probably going to be done by the time we get there.
Right.
It'll be post-ictal, we'll start an IV. It's not a big deal. Things change, though,
Yes.
a lot of times. A lot of times out in the field, you get a run, you get something, a seizure, you show up as something completely different. You know what I mean? So it's important to point that out, too, that, like, not only, and listen, when you're a firefighter and you're a paramedic and you do these things every day, you're doing them depending on where you work, you're handling calls that have to do with life and death, maybe 20 times a day, or at least 10 times a day in some areas, Even in a slower area, you might have one or two calls where it's like a serious call.
Right.
But you're running calls all day. So when you get a seizure, that's not a big deal. that you run all the time, and you're also just used to running calls constantly all the time. It's not like the movies where the bell goes off and everyone jumps up and sprints to the rig. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if people are like, oh shit, we gotta run. All right, take another bite of food real quick, cover it up with foil, mosey over to the rig. One of the guys might go take a leak real quick, and come back and stuff like that. There's like it's not like everyone's in slow motion, but it's definitely not sprinting to the rig. Right. Then you get there and you get on scene or you're on the way and then updates start popping up and then it's like oh shit it's a 14-year-old.
Yeah,
oh shit it's
you hit the gas. Yeah.
They're doing CPR. Oh shit, and everything speeds up a little bit more.
But even that being said too, like just a seizure, like their routine, but then they can go fucking sideways.
It's very true.
And you have no idea exactly which kind of seizure it is. Like it could be an anoxic seizure, and then they fucking arrest right after that because they got no oxygen the whole time.
Yes, it's very true. Yeah. My point being, and really the reason I bring this up is for any of the younger firefighters that are listening, or people, or guys or gals that are coming up that are looking at this as a profession. Okay, we have a lot of listeners that are on their way up in this profession. Remember this episode, okay? Because you never know what the call is going to be when you get there, and you don't want to have a bad outcome and afterwards be thinking, fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck. What if I had just, not taken that extra 20 seconds? What if I had just sped up just a little bit more? Would it have made the difference in saving this kid's life? That's a shitty, shitty feeling, okay? And it happens. I've been a medic for 20 years, 18 on the fire department, and it's happened. Once it happens, you lose people. There's no worse feeling than that when there's something that you feel like you could have done better or faster, or you know what I mean, or another route you would have taken, or another treatment you would have done. It sits with you. But anyways, let's
get the tape roll.
I need everybody to be quiet.
Okay, so they're on the way. So is he awake now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, is he awake? Try and tap him on the shoulder, see if he'll wake up. Move or respond.
Okay, papi. No, he's not responding.
Okay, is he breathing normally? Does his breathing look normal? You don't need to. Don't try to. Okay, I heard someone trying to open his mouth and grab his tongue. Don't put anything into his mouth.
No, nobody's trying to do that. Nobody's trying to do that.
Okay, turn him onto his side. Roll him on his side. Okay, and we're just going to watch his breathing, okay? Does it look like he's struggling or gasping to breathe?
He's gasping. He's gasping.
Okay, if he won't move or respond and he's gasping, then we need to do chest compressions. Is he moving at all?
No, he's not.
Okay, then we need to get him flat on his back so we can do CPR, okay? If there's a defibrillator.
We're doing CPR.
Yeah, if there's a defibrillator available, send somebody to get it right now. So I need him.
There's a defibrillator. No, there isn't.
Okay, I need him flat on his back, and I want you to kneel down next to him. Are you going to do the chest compressions or someone else?
No, his mom is doing it. She can hear you.
Okay, so you're going to put one hand on the center of the chest, right between the nipples, and the other hand on top of that hand. And keeping your arms straight, push down hard and fast, at least 2 inches deep and twice per second. Okay, I want you to count out loud like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If he's not trying to stop you or wake up or move, then just keep going. If he tries to push her off or stop or move, then we can stop doing the CPR. Okay.
Okay. Only if he tries to push you off do we stop. Okay. Just keep going.
Okay.
All right, we're doing it.
Okay, perfect. Just keep going until. Has he ever had a seizure before?
No, this is the first time.
Okay. It
looks like he's breathing.
Okay.
Keep going.
Is he trying to move or wake up at all?
No, not at all. It just looks like he's gasping.
Okay, then keep going unless he tries to stop you or rolls over.
You got it, Kimara. Okay.
Does he have any serious medical history?
No, he does not.
Okay. You're doing good. Just keep having her go at that same pace. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just that same pace. If she gets tired, have somebody take over for her, okay?
No, they're saying just to do the compression.
Yeah, we don't need to do the ventilations in his mouth. Just push on his chest.
Okay. He's trying, yeah.
Okay, just keep pushing on his chest. Did anybody see what happened, or he just had a seizure?
No, he just dropped.
Okay. Was he playing baseball?
Keep going. Keep going. That's the way, my dear. Keep going.
Yeah, if she gets tired, let somebody take over, okay? If she gets, it's sometimes it's...
Okay. You're doing great, my love. Okay. Keep going. Do you need to switch, Kimara? No, she's got it. She's got it. She's got it.
Okay, keep going. You're doing a good job, okay? Is he moving?
Keep going.
Yeah, mom wasn't gonna stop.
No.
Yeah.
Is he moving or responding at all?
No, he's just asking.
Okay. Is he still shaking at all? Is his body still seizing?
No, he's not.
Okay.
That's us.
Okay, just keep doing the chest compressions, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Make sure that she's keeping her arms straight, okay? We want her arms straight. Don't bend the arms.
Let's pause.
No.
I'm gonna have Trey call in.
And it should be said during this whole time, you have no idea that this kid's coming back or anything. You know, like you're doing your job, but this is still a real call that's happening, and you're on it.
Yeah.
And you're in it, and yeah, it's it's not your kid, but
do you feel that stress as
Oh,
soon as this call is started and you realize it's a 14-year-old that's unconscious and stuff like that? Do you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned earlier, there's seizures every day, all the
Sure.
time. We all take tons of seizure calls. That's the one catch is in our training is a lot of people that aren't familiar with seizures will describe someone going into cardiac arrest as a seizure.
Mhm.
Yeah, it looks very much like a seizure. So we are supposed to treat it like a cardiac arrest until we can prove it's
There it
not.
is. Pull over, dude.
So yeah, I mean, I have kids. You try not to, get emotionally tied to it, but and then you get the feeling, like you said, usually by the time you guys are getting there, they're waking up, they're starting to move, they're post-ictal.
Sure, yeah.
When they're not responding, not waking up at all, I already had in my mind, I already knew it wasn't just a seizure.
Yeah.
And it should, just like the point you made, you got to understand that when essentially when you pass out or you go into cardiac arrest, your heart stops beating, right? It's cardiac arrest. You start pumping blood, you lose blood to your brain. That's what makes you pass out and fall down, right? While that's happening, you're losing oxygen and blood to your brain. Your body does funky things, okay? Yeah. So just like you said, we'll get a lot of seizures and we'll show up and it winds up being a syncope, you know?
Right.
Because as you're going down, your body will do little twitchy things and people see that and go, oh, it's a seizure. You know? That's why a lot of times when I show up to seizures, I'll actually say, ma'am, tell me exactly what happened. Were they shaking like this? And I'll do it physically to show them.
You have to, though.
And they'll go, no, it wasn't like that. I'll go, okay, was she just kind of falling down and going like that as she went out and then went out? Yeah, that's it. Okay, she probably just passed out.
Right.
Also, any history of it? No history. Okay, it's probably a syncope or something else going on like this.
Yeah.
Calling in, we have Trey Glennon. Trey is a firefighter. He's actually an engineer at 63s on my shift. But he's also a paramedic. He's been a paramedic with the fire department. How many years have you been on the fire department, Trey?
I've been on 14 years.
How long have you been a medic?
So I've been a paramedic the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 14 years experience as a paramedic. He was the engineer on Light Force 63 that day. And for those of you that don't know, Light Force is basically the big hook and ladder truck with the big aerial ladder on it. There's also a pump. It's an engine that drives along with the truck because the truck doesn't have water. Just in case they pull up to a fire first on scene, they have actual water so they can actually fight the fire. Trey happened to be the engineer on Light Force 63 that day. And as he's a paramedic and as the engineer does a lot of times, if there's no engineer work for them to do, they'll always try to run up and fill in any way they can on an incident like this. Especially when you're driving there and you see that it's a 14-year-old in cardiac arrest with CPR in progress.
Yeah.
So just kind of lay out for us, Trey. Start off from when the call went down. Were you guys in quarters or were you out in the field?
So we had just gotten back to quarters, and we were down by the boardwalk. So we had cleared another call on the boardwalk, which was interesting because sometimes you get a call on the boardwalk and then you're making your way back to the main street from the boardwalk. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of traffic. Sometimes you kind of get stuck down there and it's a little bit, takes a little while to get out. Yeah. So, we had just cleared there and we're on our way back. We were able to get out to the main street. There was a discussion about potentially stopping and doing some training, which sometimes we do off to the side. So, sometimes we stay down there on the boardwalk. There's some old buildings. We have some newer firefighters on the shift. We like to walk through the buildings and show them and that kind of thing. So
hold on one second, Trey. That's a good point that he brought up too, because that happens a lot too, man. We do a lot of training. I mean, one of the things with the fire department is that literally, they call us for anything. If they can't figure out how to fix a problem, send the fire department. The fire department will figure out who to call, what to do, right?
Yeah.
So you hear that a lot, or you'll see in the news or on newspapers a lot. They'll put out like what a firefighter, like the firefighter's salaries and shit. Oh, look at this guy. He made this much in overtime. Holy shit. Holy shit. What you don't realize is like the guy that makes that much overtime is working every damn day.
Yeah.
24 hours. He's missing.
He has to know a fuck ton of things.
Exactly. He has to be ready to perform on any emergency. He has to know how to operate this piece of equipment, that piece of equipment, that piece of equipment. If you're a medic, you got to know all the dosages plus all the other firefighter shit.
Yes.
So in order to keep our tools sharp, we train a lot. We train damn near every day.
Right.
And sometimes it's just like Trey's saying, coming back from a run, you pass by an odd or a strange building. Hey, let's throw a ladder to this building, see what it's all about. And you stop, you pull a ladder off, you throw it. Now, if we get this call while we have a 35 up and the pump has, 100 feet of 1 3/4 pumping water and stuff because we stopped to practice, that's a delay also. That can very easily be a situation that could have happened with this kid. Okay, we got this call. All right, hey, we're gonna be delayed. We're taking down a 35, or we got hose out. Okay, and you wind that, but that's 2-3 minutes that you're taking everything down, putting it back on the truck, jumping on, and getting going. And you can hear from the call that 2-3 minutes can turn into a lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sorry, man. Go ahead and continue. You guys are out on the road, finished off, thought about training. Then what happened?
Yeah, we talked about it, and our captain at the time, Captain Machan, said, hey, listen, let's get back. It's a little bit crowded out here. We'll get some training in a little bit later. Okay, cool. Let's head back to quarters. So we ended up making our way back to quarters, and then we backed in, and we weren't there long before the call came out, and it came out as a seizure, which I think you guys were talking about already, kind of the initial dispatch. And I didn't get a chance to say hello to everybody, but
sorry,
Melissa
over here.
What's up,
my
man?
brother Ben? Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Ben, how you doing?
Good to
Danny,
see you,
what's
dude.
up, man? You too. But she did a great job, and I know you guys have been talking about it already, and how the call kind of progressed, right? And anytime we get a call, the first thing we do is we look at the notes, right? We maybe hear over the audio what the nature of the call might be. We hear that, and then reconfirm it when we see the computer screen and what the information says. And then, even from the point we go en route to the call to the time we arrive on scene, there may be more information that's updated, right? So based on our experience, based on what we've been on before, we kind of already may have a pretty accurate prediction of what we think we might be going to, right? And so obviously there's our sense of urgency, right? We don't necessarily say, hey, this call sounds more important than the next. We're always getting out the doors as fast as we can. We're always getting there quickly and as safely as we can to do the best job we can. But there is certain calls, like a structure fire response, or we get a cardiac arrest call, these more high profile incidents where it does, I think, generate a little bit more sense of urgency, right? So one of those is kids, or calls involving kids. So, especially very young kids. And then when it gets updated en route to a cardiac arrest, now that goes to us, that's like that top level. Exactly. Okay, we better have our A game on right now. And this is the real deal. So, I think, I'm following the truck, the ladder truck. So, we got out the doors quickly. We were in quarters on the I think it was a 14-year-old reported seizure. And then as not very long after we got out the doors was, CPR in progress was updated, and then it was updated to a cardiac arrest. And it was almost like I saw the dust cloud get a little bit heavier behind the truck, like he just, got going a little bit faster, right? And that's where we hang it out, right? On things like that. We obviously responding and returning from calls is some of the most dangerous things we do, is driving to calls, right? Running red lights and going fast, opposing traffic, things like that. But we're absolutely willing to hang it out a little bit more when it's that on the line. The stakes are high, right? So we got there very, very quickly. As far as getting two large fire apparatus in and out of traffic. It was over at Penmar Park, which is a little bit. It was a little bit of a
drive,
response
man.
distance.
Yeah, it's a little drive. It's at the far end
right
of our
around
district.
The corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it wasn't right around the corner, so we got there quick. Melissa did a great job directing, the people that were reporting the incident, because sometimes we pull up and we have no idea. We know it's at the park. We know maybe on the base, maybe there's 3 or 4 baseball fields, and rightfully so, they may be so busy and engaging in trying to help the situation. There might not be someone out in the street, but listening to the tape, she did a great job. Say, hey, get someone out there to flag the fire engine down when they arrive. And that's what was happening. So we pulled up, and there was someone in the street with big hands waving at us. And
it should be stated too, Trey, that there were 3 paramedics on the life force that day.
That's incredible.
Not one of them working in the position of a paramedic, but that our AO Mona Bonnie, who will be on the podcast on another episode, was the AO. Trey was the engineer, and Captain Achan is a paramedic as well. So it's just when good things happen, it's funny to take a step back at the end and look back at all of the things that lined up to make this a successful call. And I think not the least of which is the fact that we had 3, not just paramedics, but 3 really, really experienced paramedics,
right,
on that life force when they got there.
And they had an AED.
And they had an AED, which is something that we didn't always have on the fire department, on fire
truck,
apparatus, on trucks, on engines. But, the science over the years, first of all, has been toward early CPR. So please, if you're listening to this episode, go seek out a CPR class, a first aid class, and learn CPR. You never know when it's going to come in handy. But then also the science is early defibrillation on cardiac arrest, So the department, issued heart starts or AEDs to all the fire apparatus. And I think a lot of the PD units carry them now too. If they roll up on scene and get something like that, they can actually patch them up and do something for cardiac arrest. But go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good information. And everything, like you said, everything just kind of, every step was in place. I mean, I couldn't think of a call that could have gone any better with even a better outcome, So, I mean, I think from the time the call came in to the time we got the person through the doors of the emergency room, it's like, I mean, gosh, what a great thing to talk about, and that's the true success story. But that sense of urgency really does stick in my mind. You go on thousands of 911 calls over the years, and it's like when I first wanted to join the fire department, I remember early on sitting down watching that show Rescue 911 with my parents. With William Shatner and the intro and the thing, and like I always thought like that's what a firefighter does on every call. Every ice rescues, helicopters, kids calling 911, mom fell down, all that stuff, right? So I realized that it's actually not that intense most of the time. We do get an opportunity to turn up the heat a little bit, no pun intended, every now and then. But this was one of those times, and so it's like it gets you that feeling of like that. Wow, this is what I came on this job to do. Like these are the moments that fill me up with energy and excitement and desire and passion for this career.
Right.
And it's sometimes it's good to feel that, sometimes you miss having that day to day. You don't really get that reminder. And this was definitely one of those days, because as soon as everybody's boots hit the ground, it was like full sprint. And there was every single person, the captain, the drivers, the other firefighters. It was like, grab the gear. And I mean, I don't think anybody was leaving anything on the table. It was like full sprint. And it was a good, maybe like 150 yards from the street to the mound where he was in the middle of the infield. And
did you stop halfway and think, holy shit, this is just like Rescue 911?
Look at us. Great. Yeah. I mean, it was like, wow, man. I mean, it was, you could see people on the phone, you could see the woman who ended up being the mother on the ground doing chest compressions, the other people surrounding the scene. And it was like, we had to come to like a screeching halt on our heels to stop.
Drop into second.
Not take them out.
And then it was intense, and everybody went right in, and there was no standing around like no one didn't know what to do. It was like everybody just kind of looked at each other and said, okay, we all know what has to get done. Everybody just started filling in, and it just happened. The captain did a great job at doing scene control and helping the folks, make some room for us to work. We ended up getting in there, and everybody got on in each position that they needed to get in, and gotten that, continued, obviously relieved the mother of CPR, chest compressions, and rescue breathing. And then we started, and we attached the AED immediately. And it advised us to shock. So right then and there, we knew that was a good sign. She was doing good, effective CPR. Sure. Mm-hmm. Because as we know, we go on these calls a lot where maybe there wasn't great CPR, or maybe there wasn't CPR being done at all. It's not going to give the heart that much of a chance. If she was circulating oxygenated blood for that 4 or 5 minutes before we got there, it still gave us a chance to defibrillate, which is typical of when good outcomes happen in these situations. So,
sure. You got to keep in mind that you're basically the heart. You know what I mean? When you're doing CPR, you're pumping blood to every vital organ in that body. You are doing the work of the heart. So when you hear early CPR is important, early defibrillation is important. When you hear those things, this is exactly what we're talking about. That time, that 2-3 minutes, which could very easily, if they were drilling or if 62s wasn't available, they had to get 43s or something like that. Those 2-3 minutes could have easily turned into 5 or 6 minutes. And not having oxygenation to the heart, to the brain for that amount of time.
4 minutes, you're going to die, basically.
It significantly decreases the chance that heart is going to be able to revive and recover from the damage that it took from not having blood and oxygen for 6 minutes or so. So it's just like Trey said, especially when you get on scene and you see somebody doing CPR, we'll even comment afterwards, like, damn, mom was doing good CPR, or damn, that worker at the con home, they were actually doing good CPR. You know, it's something that we'll notice and we'll be like, oh shit. Because when you're doing CPR, man, you gotta keep in mind that you're pushing down on breastplate, right? You're squishing that rib cage, but you gotta squish that heart. You gotta squish it flat.
Like go down an inch.
You gotta get down. So
you
have to push. I mean, it's significant. You know you're doing good CPR if you're hearing ribs breaking while you're doing it. You know what I mean? And that sounds weird if you're not in the profession and you've never done it, but that's what good, deep CPR that's going to keep you alive does.
Yeah. And you can tell over the phone. Like, you can hear it. You can tell over the phone when you hear the noise.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even have to count. I can hear it. You're pushing hard enough for me to hear it.
It's gnarly. It's gnarly.
And like you said, you're the heart, so the pace is important too. You having them keep that rhythm, like they say to do staying alive or whatever.
Exactly.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going.
And also you got to keep in mind too that we have a firefighter, paramedic, a lot of years of experience here. So when we talk about CPR, and defibrillation and all that stuff, it's second nature to all of us. I know, Melissa, you're not a medic, but you're exposed to this stuff all day, every day, walking people through CPR, stuff like that. To the mom that was doing this, she's never done it before in her life. You know what I mean? So it's almost like we were at Ben's son's baseball game earlier, and they hit the ball, and the kids are just kind of like, oh shit, and they're just kind of tossing around there. It's like a bunch of, they're just running around, not really knowing what to do. I coach the next level up, and I'm constantly like, hey, if the ball comes to you, you're going here. If the ball's in the middle, you're turning to, you're gonna, you know what I mean? I have to like walk them through each. That's kind of like what you're doing. Is like you have this lady who's never played the sport of CPR, and you've got to walk her through how to do it perfectly, or her son's gonna die. You know what I mean? That's like, it's a job that you have to do. Number one, that's so stressful. But also being calm and clear enough so that somebody who is under the most amount of stress they've ever been in, possibly doesn't speak the language very well. You know what I mean? There's so many variables that could lead to this not turning out well. So to listen to the call and to hear you be as calm as you are, to walk her through, just like Trey said and Ben said,
and the cooperation of the kids' two moms.
That's
exactly
what I was going to mention.
They were nailing it.
Because most of the time in a situation like that, and understandably so, people are screaming and panicking,
Freaking
and you
out.
can't get someone to stop and focus for a second to even tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And to go along with your CPR comment, the defibrillator question. A lot of times, public buildings, possibly parks, somebody that is there driving by, a security guard, could have a defibrillator.
Sure.
Right.
So for her to even acknowledge that, most people don't even acknowledge the defibrillator question, or they don't know what you're talking about. But just how calm they were and how much they followed every little instruction and were very clear and like there was no yelling, there was no screaming. She even told everybody, "I need you to all be quiet."
Yeah,
it was textbook.
They were perfect. They saved
they did a
that
great
kid.
job.
It was a textbook. Yeah. Let's play the end there.
12 minutes.
She's not bending the arms are straight.
Okay. Make sure she's still going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
1,
great.
2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Very good. Keep going.
4, 5. She's got it. She's going. 4, 5.
They're almost there. Okay, you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah.
And I'm watching them.
You're able to see
GPS,
them driving, right? Yeah.
Phone until they're right next
So
to you, and
nerve-wracking.
they take over. Okay, I'm going to stay on the phone until they're right there.
Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Don't stop until they get here, okay? Until one of them runs out here. You got it, baby. My behind you. 4.
So our rescue was on another call while this was going down. Rescue 62, the next district over. You can just play it. Was dispatched. And so Life Force gets there first, and then the rescue gets there just a little bit after.
Little lag.
Keep going. Good job. Keep going. They're almost here. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Can you hear the sirens?
2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2.
You're doing a great job. Keep going.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Is someone flagging them down and directing them to the field?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that stepmom is like running the whole scene.
Somebody's
Yeah.
fighting.
Okay,
Perfect.
perfect.
4, 5. 1, 2. You got it, Samara. 4. You got it, Samara. You're doing good, Samara. You're doing good. Keep going. Keep going, Samara. Don't stop. Don't stop. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Is he moving or responding at all?
No, he just keeps opening his mouth after he's gasping.
Okay.
Every once in a while.
Agonal.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that too. You know? He's trying to breathe.
Yeah.
It's like, well, your body's trying to breathe. You know?
Keep going.
See, every time you're checking, it's like you want some progress or some sign, you know, and the longer it goes, you're like,
Don't
shit.
stop. You got it, Samara.
Yeah.
Don't stop, Samara. Okay. All right. Come on. We haven't touched for a phone.
Are they with him?
Yeah, they're
Okay,
here.
all right, they're going to help. Good job.
Hey, can you stop it? Wow, man.
Yeah.
When you guys got the shock advised, do you remember what rhythm he was in by any chance? Trey?
I don't remember what
Did
rhythm,
he get
and I know on the monitors they do kind of show now
Yeah.
a little sampling.
did he
But I would imagine it's VFib.
did he convert after shock, or was that not until 62s got there?
So, we didn't have the monitor right away. We shocked before they got on scene. So, as far as we knew, because he was still not breathing, we wanted to follow up with what was basically the, recommended American Heart recommendation, which was to go right back into another 5 cycles of CPR.
Right.
Because a lot of times, right, even though they do get shocked, they may convert. They're still not sustaining enough pressure to maintain an effective pulse pressure and heart rate. So we basically went right back into chest compressions. He was still unresponsive and still agonal breathing. And the medics, the medics got there and took over. They started doing their ACLS and they got the IV started, and we were fully expecting now, okay, he's in what looked to be a PEA or a pulseless electrical activity. We couldn't feel a pulse, but it looked like there was electrical activity on the monitor. So they had the IV in, CPR going. The next intervention would have been to administer epinephrine, which is, our IV intervention for a person without a pulse. And then he almost immediately, right before I was taking the epinephrine out of the package, screwing the syringe together. We were about to give it, and someone called out that they felt a strong pulse, a strong carotid pulse.
Wow.
And then that correlated now with the monitor, his heart rate picking up faster, and he was in a sinus rhythm at about, about 80 or 88 beats per minute. So we actually didn't give the epinephrine.
Wow.
Yeah, just from the compressions and the defibrillation.
Nice.
And the guys, obviously, they took over. They were doing great compressions. And at that point, we were, utilizing it from the beginning, a bag valve mask, so doing really, really good ventilations too. So, he had a pulse, so we didn't even give the epinephrine, at least not on scene. So we just wanted to stabilize him and get him loaded up.
A lot of times too with kids, because barring like a genetic, heart defect or something like that, a lot of times if you have a kid in cardiac arrest, a lot of times it's from a respiratory issue. Either an asthmatic didn't have their medication, their respirations went down, they're not getting enough oxygen, and they go into cardiac arrest from that. So a lot of times with kids, it's important to get a good airway, and get them oxygenated well. And also another thing with kids is like they're pretty resilient, So if you have a sick kid or an injured kid, they'll like sustain for a long time and seem like they're okay, and then fall off, if they need. But the same with what happened here. Like I'm sure this kid, he's playing baseball, he's 14 years old, he had no other medical issues and stuff like that. So whatever this issue was that put him into this cardiac arrest, I'm sure being young and being healthy and not, it contributed to one defibrillation and good oxygenation, you know, allowing his heart to kick back in and start working for him again.
Yeah.
What else, man?
All right. So they show up.
No, at that point, that point, they transported. Yeah, they got to the hospital. We obviously sent a couple of our guys, maybe even 3. There was one guy driving, a couple guys in the back helping. It's like in those situations, all hands want to get in there and help. And it was a full house. I think there was just enough of us to get both of the fire apparatus to the hospital, you know, because we need a tiller, a tiller person for the back and a driver for both of the rigs. So we ended up making it happen. It was me and Nabani, which was the AO, and the captain, and then the rest of the guys they were in the ambulance. So
was he?
We followed
did he
up.
Wake
and,
up? Did he wake up when he was still with you guys?
I don't think he fully woke up. But they, when we got to the hospital, they were all gathered around. We basically said, you know, hey, they don't really know what's going on with him. They don't know if it's a congenital issue, but right now he's obviously stable. He does have a pulse. They went ahead and put an advanced airway and intubated him, right? Because you know, we don't intubate pediatrics, but we can do, you know, obviously we do basically a basic airway, which is airway management, which is back valve mask and oxygen and things like that. But they went ahead and secured that airway and intubated him and stuff so that they could stabilize him and take a little bit of the effort and workload off of what his body was trying to do. So, and then from that point on, it was like we didn't really hear much. And those are one of the ones, you know, you hope you ask the medics, hey, if you guys get back to the hospital in the next couple of days, can you check on our patient, you know? And sometimes that's all you get. Sometimes you never hear the outcome. And that's sometimes the hardest part is, like, you know, you expend all this emotional capital and energy on going on these runs, and you know the adrenaline is just kind of wearing off, you know, and however you relate to it, right? A lot of us have kids, a lot of us have siblings, cousins, friends, whatever, in the same scenario, and you're just trying to process that. You're processing it with one another. You go back to the station, but you really never get the closure. And you know, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, and it could be a good or a bad thing. I think maybe if you knew every single outcome over the years, it might be a little bit heavy, but sometimes it's good to just kind of check that at the door, know that you did your best, and you go on to the next one. But it's always great to hear that, you know, obviously that a week later, hey, he's made a full recovery. Like, he's going to walk home. And then just a couple weeks after that, to get to meet him and be with his family and everybody was like, you know, just, you know, a one of a kind opportunity. We don't get that happen that often.
Anytime there's like a significant event like that, or you know, you have a really good save, like the time I was telling Melissa about the lightning strike on the beach, you know, we had that chiropractor was in cardiac arrest and stuff like that. Something significant, abnormal, unusual, or something with like a celebrity or a very important person or something like that. Metro and the PSO or the PIO will get notified. The public information officer will get notified, and a lot of times when it's something good with a positive outcome like this, you got to understand too that the fire department's a business, you know, PR. So you have to, you know, everything's PR. There's a lot of politics involved with everything having to do with the city and stuff like that. So anytime there's a good outcome like this, especially something where you have a dispatcher who was, you know, instrumental in saving this kid's life, you have, you know, the life force that, you know, was sprinting to the scene. You got all these people that, you know, were on scene that saw it. I'm sure there was people, you know, recording, or, you know what I mean? Anytime you have a significant event like this, the department likes to shine a light on it.
That's what we're all here for. I mean, just the way that it all played out. Yes. That was incredible. Like we've talked about, just the way everything all played out. Like, and you never feel so good hearing you guys get on scene than when you know, like, like watching them drive, watch it, like, you're like, okay, they're gonna take care of it now.
It should also be stated, man, that like this is a perfect example of how the fire department operates, not just on calls like this, but on any call. There is not one person at the station that is so important that they can take care of any fucking call, right? Everything that we do is a team effort.
Oh yeah.
Every time we get on scene or even if you show up late, you know, you get there as a rescue or you know, you're working on the engine, you get there, the rescue's always there. There's no discussing how to do shit. Everyone just looks at the situation. Okay, where do I fit in? Where do I fit in to make this happen? And that goes back to our training. You know, it's just like we talked about earlier. We're constantly training. And it's just like I said earlier, we're doing that because we don't have any idea what the day is going to present to us. We have to be prepared for every single scenario.
Right.
A collapsed building, a car wreck, a car over the side of the freeway, a car into the river, a river rescue, a shark attack, a seal attack, a lightning strike. You know what I mean? Yeah. We have to be ready to respond to that within 60 seconds and know exactly what we're going to do, exactly how to operate properly as a team, in the hopes that we get a good outcome, because the outcome is usually, or a lot of times, life and death.
And also, it's a big organization with just a bunch of interchangeable parts. Like, you didn't go to work that day, like, knowing that she's working, that you guys are going to work together, be involved on a call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Work with 62s on it. It just happens, come together, Voltron it,
and that's
get the outcome.
And that's where the training comes in. You
Right.
know, we generally all train and operate and do things generally the same way. You know what I mean? Different stations will have their own SOGs about how to do things and stuff like that. But typically, if I get detailed to any station and I'm in this position, I can plug into that position and make it work. You know, it might not be 100% the way they do it, but I can look around and go, okay, how do I fit into this scenario? Yeah.
What an episode.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate you both coming and talking about this.
Fantastic.
I know a lot of times it's hard to listen to things like that. We talked about that earlier before you got on, Trey, about you know, listening to calls like this, because at least for me, we had a training. What do we got? Like 1 minute, 2 minutes? We're done. Okay. But hearing things like this is stressful too. You know what I mean? Like hearing the calls, like as a firefighter, as a medic, you're stressed out enough as it is. You have these calls happen and stuff like that. So to come and have to listen to it again, I know it's hard to listen to. So I really appreciate you coming and talking about you know, dispatch and stuff.
Yeah, that was cool.
And thank you, Trey. I never really got to thank all you
guys.
Thank
you.
Like it was.
You're great. It was quite a great experience.
Yeah, want to commend you too, sir. The first Zoom Skype guest to go with natural light.
No, it's beautiful.
You know what I'm saying?
You
pulled it off, man.
Yeah,
pulled it off.
Shining right off your white shirt. You look beautiful. You got
might make
nice
that a
glow
requirement.
to you.
You know what I mean? Like Zoom us from outside.
Yeah.
Gonna be on this show.
Trey, listen,
Sorry.
buddy. I haven't said this to you personally, but what an amazing job on this call, man. To all three of you to be on the life force. It's not something that you expect, especially when you make engineer. You know, the last thing you want to do is do paramedic shit when you promote it to engineer. But it's just like you said, when something like this happens, you kick it up to second gear, and you guys did such a great job, man. I'm so happy to be a part of 63s and the guys, you know, that were on this call to be a part of the crew. Fills me with pride when I talk about stuff like this. So I really appreciate you as a person, as a medic, and I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Thank you.
All right, brother.
Same here. Thank you, guys.
Ben, what do you got?
Want to thank you for coming on and
guys.
enlightening everyone on, you know, Metro and dispatch, and because people don't consider what a big part they play and how much they have to do. Like, it's a crazy job.
I'll go on to say people have no fucking clue what happens at Metro or what it was even about.
Come down and visit anytime you want.
This was a hell of an episode for that.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate that. Danny, where can they find you?
You can find me at DannyGonzo34 on Instagram or Twitter.
All right. And our esteemed guest, do you guys want to plug anything or get followers?
Any social media
drop
or
the
anything you
URL?
want to plug? No?
No.
Trey?
No, we're good. Just these guys, our 63s page. Obviously, Danny does a great job doing that and checking that out.
Right?
So.
Yeah, pay it forward. Thank you, sir. Yeah, right on.
Where can they find you, Ben?
63 by the sea.
Yeah.
Yep. X the C. Yeah. All right. Follow me at Ben9Humor. Ben number 9 Humor, like benign tumor. Follow the show at PRCPod on Instagram and Twitter. Follow us on the TikTok now at PRC Podcast. You know, I don't know what to say about it yet.
I don't know. It's becoming its own thing. We'll see.
All right. Yeah. Don't judge me for being in my 40s with the TikTok. All right.
Starting another little business too on the side, a little t-shirt business for the fire department, t-shirts and stuff like that. So if you can or if you want to, follow Centigrade Clothing on Instagram. Something that we're starting up, a little side business too. So we'll get that going, and we'll have more of that in the weeks to come.
Right on. Thank you guys very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean. Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no times.